Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. Sorry for the change here in the title sequence. Had a little bit of a technical issue going on with the program I normally use and couldn't get it to do what I wanted it to do. Alright, so move this down a little bit. Alright, so let's talk about some changes that are going on. Now, there's a lot of discussion going on about Ukraine making advances, which is true. They have made some advances, but is it anything significant, first of all? No, not really. When you zoom out from the advances they've made in Robotina and in different places right now, these small towns, like Robotina had a pre-conflict population of less than 500 people. But in terms of territory, if you look at the territory, the wide view of this and the territory they want to gain, one person did measurements of this, and they measured it at 0.4% of the territory which they are trying to gain. Now, they have advanced roughly 7 kilometers at Robotina. That's not very much when you consider from Robotina to the Sea of Azov is like 149 kilometers, something like that. Now, to take this territory, they have lost tens of thousands of troops and hundreds of pieces of heavy equipment. The Russian Ministry of Defense released their estimates for Ukrainian losses since the beginning of the Ukrainian offensive, which began in June. As of now, the estimates of Ukrainian losses have come to 66,000 troops and 7,600 pieces of heavy weaponry, including tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, armored personnel carriers, artillery, HIMARS systems, etc. As far as personnel, they have lost. The previous estimate from a month ago was 43,000. So, in 1 month, that's been another 23,000 in 1 month. So, the Ukrainians have announced a new wave of conscription. This is going to be wave number 5 of conscription, and actually this is in 2 waves, 2 parts. The first part to be 300,000 people, and the second another 200,000. 300,000 and 200,000, 500,000 people. In addition, they have. This is on top of the fact that last year they increased the age of conscription from 18, any male between 18 and 60 years old can be conscripted into the Ukrainian military. Yeah, think about your grandfather being drafted, and this is what this is coming down to. Well, they've announced new changes to their draft process, their conscription process. those changes mean that they can draft people with chronic illnesses, including being asymptomatic, HIV positive. Of course, why are they asymptomatic? Probably because they're getting the right medications and proper care. That's not going to happen on a field of combat. That's not going to happen on the front line. So they're not going to remain asymptomatic. Chances are many of them are going to wind up with full-blown AIDS if they survive the fighting. So this is an absolute death sentence to those people. Also, people with diabetes. Can you imagine being on the front line and checking your blood sugar, administering insulin? The diet is not going to be conducive to a healthy diabetic diet. It's going to be whatever you can eat. People with slowly progressing neurological disorders. That would be something like multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. People with hepatitis, people with acute psychological disorders. Yeah, would you want to be in a trench with a fellow soldier with an acute psychological disorder? But this is what they're going for. In addition, Zelensky is trying to get Western European nations to deport Ukrainian males that had fled the country even before the conflict, that had immigrated out of Ukraine before the conflict, to be able to conscript them into the military. Now, if they left since February of last year, it's pretty clear that these people do not support the Ukrainian side of this conflict, or they don't support the conflict at all, period. So you're going to take these people that left the country because they don't want to fight, and now you want to put them on the front line. Now, most European countries have not yet responded to this request, for or against. Poland has said that they are going to comply with this request, but they're not going to go on a manhunt to track these people down. Poland says there were at least 80,000 men of conscription age that have passed through Poland. Their actual status is not known, whether they're still in Poland or if they've gone on to other countries or even returned to Ukraine. They just don't know. So basically, if they pull somebody over that fits this description for a traffic stop or something like this, and they've got a Ukrainian passport, then actually what will happen is that this is going to be forwarded to a judge to decide whether this person is going to be deported back or not, depending on what criteria. We don't know. It may be that they may not agree with the chronic health issues, and somebody with a chronic health issue will not be deported. But again, we don't know. They may completely go with the conscription standards that have been set by Ukraine. Anyway, for the rest of Europe, this kind of, and even for Poland, this kind of brings up an ethical quandary, because all along this has been, well, let's support these people, let's keep families together, etc., etc., and now are they going to turn around and say, no, we'll send you back? And Poland, part of their decision on this is being brought about because of the economic resource strain that all of these refugees have placed on the Polish economy, their society, health, housing, employment, jobs. A lot of people are not happy either supporting these people or having them take jobs away when they already had a shortage of housing and jobs. Germany is running into the same thing, so it will not surprise me if Germany will comply with this request. And the German Chancellor and administration has been all for, whatever it takes for as long as it takes and all this stuff, so it wouldn't surprise me if the German government says, yes, let's deport them. So where does their ethics up to this point really come? Where do they fall on this? So these are problems and issues that how can this be addressed? How will it be addressed? And only time is going to tell. I mean, Europe is in recession. Every country in Europe, especially Germany, they're being deindustrialized. Their cost of living has gone through the roof. Or are they going to finally just say, sit down and talk? I don't see that. I don't see them saying that as yet. It's going to I guess it's going to take a lot more pain and a lot more of their own citizens rising up and saying no more, just no more. A few weeks ago, it's been about 3 weeks now, that I told you that Ukraine had committed the very last of their mechanized forces to the front line. So even though they are making some advances, look at the human cost. First of all, 66,000 losses. Now, I don't know if that is actual killed in action, or if that is counting people that were injured, but there have been a lot of cases where Ukrainians could not or did not evacuate their wounded. They left them to die on the battlefield. Now, even if this includes wounded that have been evacuated, we have no idea what their fate is after that, because many injured soldiers after being evacuated also die. And this is tragic. There is nothing about this that I support in any way. I've said it from the very beginning that I am in favor of peace talks, a diplomatic, negotiated settlement on this. But Ukraine continues to refuse to do this. There were the peace talks in Saudi Arabia, to which Russia was not invited, and like 40 countries attended these peace talks, and it was an attempt to try and get countries that were neutral on the subject to change their minds. And none of them changed their minds. There was no change to anything. And Saudi Arabia had objected to the fact that Russia was not invited to these peace talks. They said it was ridiculous to hold peace talks without both sides being in attendance. You don't hold peace talks that way. That's not how you do this. So, as I said, Ukraine committed the last of their reserves to the front lines. And now those forces are being depleted. So there is no rotation of soldiers out of the front line. The ones that are at the front line remain at the front line. So there's no help coming. Even with a new wave of conscription, it's going to take weeks, months to train people. And even if once they're trained, what are you going to arm them with? You don't have any armor left. You don't have any weapons left. There have already been reports of Ukrainian soldiers being sent to the front lines without body armor. And this is who you're going to be sending to the front line. What comes after this? Teenage girls and babushka brigades? There's nothing left. When is Ukraine going to decide now is the time to talk? If they keep waiting, then once their forces that are at the front line now become sufficiently weakened, depleted, they're moving their forces around and thinning out their forces to maintain multiple fronts. Russia is advancing in the north, so they had to move 20,000 troops to the north from other front lines to try and fend off this advance, but that weakens the other front lines. So once these forces are sufficiently weakened, then Russia can advance at will and take as much territory as they wish. There's not going to be anything to stop them. They can take their time, they can demine the areas without being under intense fire. There may be rogue, independent small groups or soldiers that fire on them, but when there's fire coming from only one direction, one location, it's easily located, targeted, and taken out. So they can just move forward as they wish. There's, like I said, nothing's going to stop it. The fact that they are conscripting people with chronic illnesses now tells you what remains of the Ukrainian male population now. That's it. They don't have anything left. This is what they've got left. I have said in previous videos that Ukraine has destroyed their own culture, their own heritage. The men that have left the country, if they are not forced to go back to Ukraine, which if they're forced to go back to Ukraine, they're being sent back to their death for the most part. So all of the men of reproductive age are either dead or they are chronically ill unless they're in the administration. Or they're an oligarch. Oh, and by the way, Ukraine also has a bill in the parliament to legally conscript 17-year-olds. Now, there have been stories of 16 and 17-year-olds already being conscripted by force, but now they're making it legal, openly stating this. Imagine having a 17-year-old son going to school, a bus pulls up, armed men file into the school and force every 17-year-old boy out to a bus to be taken to training, and you don't even get notified. He just doesn't come home that day. That's it. He's gone. That's it. So now you're impacting all future generations. You're taking away your own future for your country. And 16-year-olds are banned from leaving the country. So they're going to be next. They may change this bill to include 16-year-olds. As it goes through Parliament, they may change it to include the 16-year-olds now. When they banned the 16-year-olds, they said, well, this is in case we need to draft them in 2 years. Well, now they're already going for the 17-year-olds. There's nothing to stop them from going for the 16-year-olds right now. Just change the number, the number of for the age on the current bill. That's it. You've taken away your children. You're taking away your children, instead of sitting down and talking. There's no way that this is going to work. It's time for peace talks. It is way beyond time for peace talks. The peace talks should have happened in 2014, 2015. They should have honored the Minsk Accords last year in March. Ukrainian negotiators signed an agreement with Russia for a peace agreement, and then it was never honored. That's 1, 2, 3 peace agreements that they have refused to honor. Even if they hold peace talks, just the talks are not going to be enough. Russia is not going to leave this territory until there is some kind of action seen on the Ukrainian side. They're not going to believe anything that Ukraine has to say, anything that the West has to say. They have no reason to believe it. When somebody promises something 3 times, if an abuser promises to stop abusing you 3 times and then still keeps abusing you, do you believe them on the 4th try? No, you don't. So is Russia going to leave the people that live in these territories that are ethnically Russian? Are they going to abandon them and withdraw their forces and let Ukraine come in? No, that's not happening. This doesn't work. It's time to sit down and talk. All right, share this video. Talk about these subjects if you can afford it. Please donate whatever you can to help expand this channel and my presidential campaign. And I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a good day.